Mildred, Bandha gets taught like it's just about gripping the core.
Yep. Tighten, hold, brace.
And then people wonder why their breath disappears.
Because Bandha isn't just contraction. It's intelligent containment.
Without Bandha, energy is leaking.
And with too much Bandha, everything gets locked up.
So today isn't about more effort.
It's about learning how to hold without hardening.
This is Bandha. I've practiced yoga consistently for over 10 years now. And I know that the most important part of building consistency is community. Other people to hold you accountable. And second to that is a solid practice plan to help you experience the true benefits of the practice. And this is exactly why I created the app. It's a free study tool to help you learn the Sanskrit and the philosophy of yoga. Plus, it's the home to our online community, which we call Sadhana Sangha. Every single month, the team and I offer 5 practices, and I guide you through an asana workshop as well as a subtle technique, and we translate a few lines of the Yoga Sutra together. It's honestly been my dream to create this app since I started teaching, because this is what I truly needed when I started practicing. So check it out in the show notes, or just search OMSOM in the App Store. That's OMSOM. Now, back to the episode. Namaste. Welcome to the OMSOM Yoga and Ayurveda podcast. My name is Aaron Petty. I am a yoga teacher, yoga therapist, teacher trainer, and all of those things. And this is my good friend Mildred.
Hey, everyone. I'm not all those things.
So today on the podcast, we are exploring Bandha. Bandha, it's one of those topics, isn't it? It's one of those topics that everyone gets confused about.
Oh, yeah.
It's all sorts of different things, and it's nothing at all. It's something that is incredibly subtle, but also something that is incredibly powerful. I want to explore it. But first, I want to tell you a story.
Classic.
Okay, so have you ever heard the story about the churning of the ocean of milk?
Love it.
Yeah. So the idea is that our universe is just the one. It's just one part of the great cosmic ocean. And outside of our world, there is this ocean of milk. And all of the gods came down and they decided they were going to try and extract the soma or the amrit from this ocean of milk. The idea was that if they could somehow churn the ocean in the same way they churn the milk to get the butter out, then they could get the butter out of that ocean and turn it into ghee, which is that golden, nourishing nectar.
Yum.
Now, they did it. Okay, all the gods come down, they're on one side, demons are on the other side, and they put this mountain on the back of a turtle, and then they start wrapping a snake around it, and they start pulling it back and forth, and they're churning the ocean. And a whole bunch of special gifts come out. There's like the wish-fulfilling tree, there's the Lakshmi comes out, a whole bunch of them get beautiful wives. And at the end, Dhanvantri comes out, who is the god of Ayurveda. He's kind of like the physician of the gods, is what they'll call him. And he comes out, he's holding the Amrit, this nectar of immortality. Amrit is not death. Not Mrit, death. So that nectar of immortality. And the other thing he's holding is called the Halahala, the poison. And this poison has the capacity, even just with one drop, to destroy all of the life on earth. So it's a bit of a problem. The entire universe could dissolve if this poison gets out. So Shiva comes down and he grabs this pot of poison, he gulps it down, and then he does something very special. He does Jalanhara Bandha. He uses his Jalanhara Bandha to contain this poison in the throat center, and his throat turns blue, and that's why they call him Nilkant, the one with the blue throat. This is the archetype for Bandha, right? It's this subtle technique, an energetic technique that allows us to contain anything. To contain movement, to contain structure, to contain the prana, to contain the energy. And so, because Shiva is Adiyogi, the first yogi. He used this Jalandhara Bandha to contain this poison and saved the world from destruction.
Pretty good guy.
Pretty good guy. And so this story, it speaks to the essence of Bandha, right? And I think this is what we want to explore today, is what Bandha is, what it means, why it's so important in Hatha Yoga, and what are the different kinds of bandhas that we see out there in the vast landscape of yoga. Because I think for a lot of people, when this word comes up,
it's like resistance, almost, or like fear.
Yeah, and also just like different, like there's so many different ideas about what it could be.
Yeah.
So we want to try and dispel all of that today. We want to try and get to
give you
some
the correct
clarity.
idea.
Just at least find some clarity around what this means. So, what does bandha mean as a translation? It's bandh, and we translate it into our word in English, bandage.
That's cool.
So you think about like when you fall over and you sprain your wrist, what do?
Yeah, wrap it up in a bandage.
Yeah, and what does that do to the wrist?
Yeah, contains it in a right position
Exactly.
for it to heal.
It holds it. It holds it together. And so this is the whole idea of bandha. It means to tie together, to restrain, to hold, to fasten, to bind. And so it's not about gripping, right? Which a lot of the time that's kind of what we think bandha is, this kind of pulling or yanking or squeezing of muscles.
Yeah.
But it's more so about containment, right? And I think this idea of the bandage is a really good thing, because a banding, if you do a bandage too tight, it's going to cut off the circulation, your hand's going to go purple.
Yeah.
Leave it like that for a week, your hand's going to fall off.
You lose the energy.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly, because the prana can't
flow.
circulate.
Yeah.
And so there are a few different kinds of bandhas in the yoga tradition, but it's really not about tension. It's about how we organize ourselves in space. So where do we want to go from here, Mildred? Maybe we could start with the physical bandha.
Yeah.
And then we could go into the energetic. Because I think for a lot of people, physical is where it begins.
Yeah, more tangible.
Yeah. And it's like we're often introduced to the idea of physical bandha before we are energetic bandha.
Yeah.
So what does physical bandha look like? Do you remember what the...
Do you mean the opposing...
Go on, hit me with it. Milli's been studying.
Bandha
Bandha is...
definition.
It's the definition. Bandha is... get out of here, Luna.
Opposing muscle groups
Yep.
around a joint complex.
Okay. And what's happening in those opposing muscle groups around the joint complex?
They're working?
They're co-activating.
Co-activating.
Okay, so
the
bandha...
co-activation of opposing muscle groups around a specific joint complex.
Yes, perfect. All right.
8+.
So this is inherently yogic and in its essence. Luna, can you please settle down? We're trying to do a podcast here. This
Keep
dog,
yourself
she's
contained,
just sorry
Luna.
about the clip clopping. Go on, sit down. Sit. Yep,
Nice.
in the corner. Good girl. Co-activation of opposing muscles around the joint complex. This is an inherently yogic idea. It is this idea that opposites are in collaboration. That's what yoga is. Yoga is a union of opposing forces. The ha and the ta, the sun and the moon, the biceps and the triceps, they're all opposing forces, the yin and the yang. This is a theme that comes up all throughout yoga, and this first application of bandha, we think about it as a physical thing, and it's the way that we contain and organize the physical body within space to create stability. So the basic idea is that we are co-activating, and that's to say a little bit of activation in the muscles that are in opposite directions. And so we have two kinds of muscles. we have the muscles which are doing the moving, and then we have the muscles which are opposing the moving. So do you remember what the one is called that when it's doing
Like
the moving?
contraction or like
The agonist
Oh yeah, and the
and
antagonist.
the antagonist. So if I'm bending my elbow, maybe you're watching the video.
You're like bicep curl.
If I'm bending my elbow, when I bend my elbow, it's my bicep that's the agonist. That means my bicep is contracting to bend that elbow. And when I straighten my elbow, my tricep is contracting. So that means that the tricep is the antagonist to the bicep. Now, this idea with Bandha in the joints, and for me, it was just like a life-changing experience. Like when I learned this, it changed my life. Just being a hypermobile person who's prone to joint injuries, it made me feel so much more safe in my body. And so this is the idea. We'll get there. The idea is activate both of those muscles simultaneously. The tricep and the biceps work together. And what that does is it creates a bandha around the joint, a bandage, a binding, a containment of the joint. Now, I'll tell you why it made me feel so much more safe is because my joints are hypermobile, all of them. Every joint in my body, I can dislocate, I can take it way past its range of motion, I can flex it beyond anything that you've ever seen. And so when I learned that I could activate both of those muscles simultaneously, what I learned was that I can create stability in my joints. And that feeling, like it was such a life-changing moment because I, for the first maybe time in my life, felt what containment feels like. And as someone who kept injuring my joints like over and over and over, and not knowing why that was happening over and over and over, it was one of those things that it helped me to find that safety in my body, so that then when I was practicing yoga, I wasn't overstretching all the time. Because I think this is such a common thing. People come to yoga, especially people like me who are flexible and like you who's already flexible. You go into a yoga class and then the teacher says, wow, you're so flexible. You're so naturally good at this. And then let's try and get you further and further and further into the pose, which just makes you overstretch. And if you overstretch for too long, then your joints are going to be sore at the end of the day. So if we're always overstretching, there's going to be injuries. And it's so common, like yogi bum, we get hamstring injuries. It is not a secret that people get injured in yoga. And the reason why they get injured is because they're doing something silly. They're overstretching.
And it's ironic, I think, because a lot of people come to yoga to prevent injury. Like you have these big athletes that like kind of come to, avoid that. But it's like so much of yoga, if you have the body type for it, can be really harmful as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And like we've recently been going to the gym and like it's so helpful for us because we're both flexible and hypermobile. And it's just like changed my practice personally.
Game changer. That's it. And so it's like we actually don't need to strain, but we do need to remain active. And I think it's just one of these huge misconceptions because most people come into yoga and they say, yoga is stretching. Therefore, I'm going to make my body relaxed, flaccid, and then I'm going to stretch that thing. Whereas yoga doesn't ask us that. Yoga asks us for the stiram and the sukham. The stiram is the steadiness and the sukham is the effortlessness. And so if I can learn to utilize bandha, come into that range of motion while still actively working against it with the contraction of the muscles, there is support in that place, which is going to very, very, very significantly reduce our chance of injury long term. Because there is that integrity in the joints. Okay, so in the same way then, it's not about over clenching, right? Because I think for a lot of people when they hear this idea, it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to squeeze my muscles as tight as I can, and then they end up red like a beetroot.
And that's my personal experience, like being a Pilates teacher as well, like always activating through the core. And then I get told to do the Bandha and I'm like, oh, that's so easy. I just suck my belly button in like I've been doing always. But it's so much grip and there's no containment at all. It's really interesting for me to explore, actually.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. And it is that. It's like, because we kind of mistake this activity of muscles with clenching of muscles.
Yeah.
You know, and I think so often it's in the
Yeah.
words of the teachers of like, squeeze your core, squeeze this muscle, squeeze your glutes. Maybe as teachers we could start to drop that a little bit.
Yeah.
Squeeze.
Oh, I never say squeeze anymore. I would
Feel.
say just like, I would always put gentle,
Yeah.
like, you know, at the beginning, if I want to say squeeze, like gently squeeze, or just like gently pull in, or yeah, something, scoop, things like that.
Yeah, interesting. I would always just say activate. Activate your bicep and your tricep at the same time. Try and bend and straighten simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I think with Bandha, sometimes those are the better cues to use, is just like those counter cues of like, can you bend and straighten your knee at the same time?
Yeah.
And what does that feel like? And what muscles are you using to bend and straighten at the same time? And now how can you keep that activity but softened a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you're not at 100%, maybe you're at 60%.
Yeah. The analogy that really helped me in Tadasana, do you know that one where it's like trying to grip a tennis ball but also open your palm up at the same time? It's like that kind of idea. It's like those two opposing like shapes, but like you meet them in the middle, and it's like this steady like balance of the two.
Yeah.
That kind of first opened the idea up in my head, and then I could apply that to the rest of the body.
Yeah, exactly. So why is this important for us? And like, number one is that it helps us to avoid injury. And then the second thing is that it's a like an energetic containment. And what I mean by that is that it helps us, like when we are actually using the muscles to support the joints, it helps us to be more energy efficient in the way that we do things. If we don't have that baseline of stability, we have to put out more when we want to move. Put out more effort. Not only that, but even when we hold a pose, we end up kind of like leaking energy. I don't know if you've ever just been standing and you're like leaning on something and your hips kind of popped out and you're kind of like slouching down. And then it's like all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I can't stand up anymore. I need to sit down.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I mean by your energy is leaking. And in the beginning, all of this work with Bandha and activity and supporting and gripping the toes while spreading the toes and bending the knees while straightening the knees, all of these things, they feel difficult in the beginning. But once you build that little bit of strength up, it allows you to be able to stand in a way that is effortless and stable for a long period of time. You're no longer leaking that energy, but you're conserving that energy by organizing your body in space in a way that allows gravity to move down through the structure without leaking. Yeah, that like if you think about when you're collapsed, like so say you're standing in line for something, you're leaning and you're letting your hip pop out. Think about what gravity's doing, right? If gravity's an energy, a type of energy that wants to move through the structure, the energy's coming in through the top of the head, the gravity's coming down, and then it's going to find that point of resistance. So if you're leaning out with your hip, it's going to start to push extra energy out through your hip. It's going to leak out through your hip. Whereas if you can use Bandha to organize yourself in space so that your feet are active, your ankles are sitting on top of your feet, knees on top of your feet, hips
Joints
on
are
top of your
stacked.
knees, pelvis is on top of your knees, spine is on top of your pelvis, rib cage on top of your pelvis, head is on top of your rib cage. Then gravity moves straight through you, but it moves straight through your bones. And so it's actually a much easier and more effortless and more energy efficient way to stand.
It's like a pipe. You know, I just like imagine like a pipe, but it has like a little shoot off, like a little break in it, and that water's gonna leak out.
It's leaking out.
You know, and then it like disrupts the whole flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the well at the bottom is empty, and you don't get any of the energy that it was trying to give.
Yeah, it disperses.
Yeah.
And so it's about learning to contain ourselves in that way.
I love that.
So physically, I think this is it's a really, really important thing because it allows us to move without strain. It allows us to move in a way that's energy efficient. It allows us to avoid injury. It's the foundation of our asana practice. That plus guiding through the breath. Now, when we start to move a little deeper into yoga, then we get the energetic idea of bandha. And this is so deeply intertwined with Hatha yoga. But these energetic bandhas, there's 3 of them. They're called Treta Bandha, or the 3 are Mula Bandha, which is the bandha of the pelvic floor, Uddiyana Bandha, the bandha at the navel, at the belly, and Jalandhara Bandha, which is the bandha at the throat center. Now, when we make this transition, I think for a lot of people, they look at these 3 subtle bandhas like the physical contraction of the joint complexes. But these 3 bandhas are actually they're not to do with asana at all. They are actually mudras. And mudra means to call forth or to draw forth that bliss from within. And so that's to say that these are energetic principles, energetic practices, energetic seals. So the internal bandhas or the subtle bandhas are less about the physical contraction and more about what that physical contraction does to your awareness and how it shapes your prana. So let's break down these 3 really quickly. The first one is Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha is the bandha that happens at the pelvic floor, the base of the pelvis. Now, when you take a breath in and you let your belly expand naturally, what you'll feel is that your pelvic floor also expands naturally. Yeah? So you breathe in, pelvic floor will expand down toward the floor. And then when you breathe out, the pelvic floor will lift back up into the body. Yeah? And it's this lifting of the pelvic floor, which we call Mula Bandha. But it doesn't finish there. That physical awareness is really just about understanding where my awareness is meant to be placed within that technique. Because it's not actually about the muscle or the contraction, but it's about the prana. And in that area of the body, there is a prana called apana vayu. And that apana vayu moves down and out. And so when we lift the pelvic floor, we are also using our intention to stop the apana vayu from moving down and out of the body. In that way, what are we doing? We're containing the prana so that the prana stops leaking out through the base of the spine. So that's bandha number 1. Bandha number 2 is this Jalandhara bandha that comes from our story, the chin lock. When I drop the chin down, pull the head backwards in space, this is called Jalandhara bandha. There is, in the same way, this physical component where I'm dropping the chin, pulling the head back. That is the first part of Jalandhara bandha. The second part is where that awareness takes us. It takes us to the pit of the throat. And at this place in the pit of the throat, when I drop the chin, the same thing is happening in the opposite direction. So if there is a apana vayu moving downwards in the pelvis, there is an uddana vayu moving upwards in the throat. And so in the same way, we are dropping the chin and stopping that prana from rising up beyond that point. In that way, containing those 2 pranas.
Question? If like apana is meant to move down and out and uddana up and out, why do we want to stop it happening?
It's a very good question. In Hatha yoga, it is about the union of opposing forces, right? And these are opposing forces. It's actually the prana and apana. And the prana vayu is the internalizing force, and the apana vayu is the externalizing force. These 2 things, and we're getting there with the Uddiyana Bandha, but these 2 things merge at the navel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so when we use the Mula Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, which is the bandha in the navel, then mentally our process is that we bind, bandha, we bind these two forces, prana and apana, at the navel center. This is called hatha.
Yeah.
Ha
Yeah,
and
okay.
ta, sun and moon, prana, apana, merging at the navel center.
Mm.
It's a subtle awareness, but there's this binding of these opposing forces that then energetically allows us to enter into the central channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the same way, we have Ida Pingala, the sun and the moon channel, that there's a central channel that opens when those two things are merged. Yeah. So we use these subtle bandhas to help us to move from physical through the mental into the subtle, into the energetic. I think for a lot of people, Uddiyana Bandha is just hold your breath and yank on your diaphragm kind of thing. Let's pull as hard as we can on the abdominal muscles.
Yeah.
But I think something that a lot of people miss is that it's not about how hard you can squeeze or how long you can hold or anything like that. Those three bandhas are about building awareness. That awareness that guides us to the subtle energetic experience. And that subtle energetic experience that guides us to yoga. Let's do a quick recap then. Mula Bandha is pelvic floor lifting. Jalandhara Bandha is throat center, chin down, and back. Uddiyana Bandha is breathe in, breathe out, all the way, hold at the bottom of the breath, and then use your diaphragm to scoop the navel in and up.
Perfect.
Without showing you, hard to explain, but you can imagine the belly button goes in toward the spine and then the belly sucks up inside the rib cage.
Yeah.
Now, that movement is not contracting, squeezing the abdominal wall or the abdominal muscles, but actually in Uddiyana Bandha, you want to try and keep the abdomen relaxed.
Belly soft.
What you feel is this drawing inwards and upwards from the navel center, and that same awareness takes you into that place, which is the mudra. Yeah. These three bandhas together, Mula Bandha, pelvic floor, Jalandhara Bandha, throat center, Uddiyana Bandha, navel center. The three together are called Treta Bandha, or sometimes they're called Mahabandha, the great bandha. Now, it's important for us because these are different to the physical bandhas, and I think for a lot of people it's a massive source of confusion when they come into Hatha Yoga of like there's these bandhas and there's these bandhas and they're different things but they have the same word. Yeah, but this word bandha we could use for anything that we are binding. Yeah. So when I'm making my sourdough, when I've got my day off, very few and far between at the moment, but when I'm making my sourdough, what am I doing? I'm getting my flour, and I'm getting my water, I'm getting my salt, and I'm bandha. I'm binding them together, right? And so when I'm making dough, I'm using bandha.
Yeah.
Anytime you're doing any kind of binding, the word for that in Sanskrit is bandha.
I mean, you're kind of always doing bandha. We're always activating our muscles when we're awake. So you're practicing it already.
So it's the word that we use for the co-activation of opposing muscles around the joint complex. And if you've ever done one of our teacher trainings, you'll know that. You'll know those words. Yeah. Because you need to know them. They're on the exam. I think by the time this comes out, the exam will be over.
Okay,
so
it's safe.
Nice try, Mildred. And then when you're doing the subtle bandhas, the Jalandhara, Uddiyana, Mula Bandha, you are binding the prana. You're binding these pranas to awaken the inner experience, which we call yoga. Okay, let's have a look at some textual references. Okay, so in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, 3rd chapter, it says about bandhas. When combining Mula Bandha with Jalandhara Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha, the prana enters Shushumna.
Okay, and that's that idea you touched on before, that central channel.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So, and I think this is really important for us to know, is that in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and we'll have a look at what Garanda Samhita says. The 3 bandhas are great secrets taught in the discipline of yoga. It doesn't say anything about bandha as muscle contraction. None of the texts talk about bandha as muscle contraction. They talk about the bandhas as energetic containment that leads to the experience of prana entering this central channel. That's to say that your prana becomes balanced and you enter the pathway that leads you into the spiritual experience and leads you into the yoga. We could talk about chakras and all of that kind of stuff, and I know we've had episodes on the chakras before, but it is the central channel, the Sushumna channel, that all of the chakras exist along.
So then, wait, where does your definition of bandha, of opposing muscle groups, come from?
It's a modern thing.
Right.
Comes from Krishnamacharya. That's his definition.
There you go.
Co-activation of opposing muscles around the joint complex. And really, it's just the word that he chose for that concept, which is use the muscles to contain joints.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it makes it confusing because you've got a very modern kind of concept, and then you've got a very ancient kind of concept. You've got one that's protect the joints and use it for stability of the body, and then the other one which is transcend.
I said it makes sense, and he goes, it makes it very confusing.
It's confusing for people because it's the same word.
Yeah.
But I think just like knowing what that word means now, that it means to contain or to bind or to hold, that then it makes sense. We're holding the joint complexes or we're holding the prana.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got that clear. Thank God. Thank God that's over. Now we're all clear about bandha. How does it show up in life? I think number 1, we leave our mats and we feel stable.
Yeah.
Our body feels stable.
Yeah.
We can get up and down off the couch without having to flop onto the couch. Right? We can get up and down off the floor without using our hands, perhaps. Right? There's kind of more freedom in movement because there's kind of stability behind the way that we move, and more integration of those movement patterns, and more organization of the body as we move through space.
I actually loved, I loved that point. And I loved what you said at the beginning of like this feeling of safety. Because I think that's it for me, is like when I can have awareness of the bandhas, both physical and energetic, it's like there's this feeling of safety in my body. Like I can contain my energy, like I can control it and kind of be the commander of it. And yeah, it just is so reassuring. And like it's that whole stability thing as well. Stable, safety, they come hand in hand. Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, when we're working with the energetic bandhas, the subtle bandhas, we can learn to contain our energy.
Yeah.
Right? And that's to fully inhibit our personal space.
Yeah.
When we can fully inhibit our personal space and our energy is unaffected, we can show up as ourselves in an authentic way. Yeah. Our boundaries are strong.
Yes.
We become, as Yogananda would say, unfuckwithable. You can bleep that out if you want, Selena.
That was a turn.
But that's really what it is. It's
Yeah.
like if you can learn to contain yourself energetically, to keep in instead of letting out everything that you cultivate through sleep, through diet, through lifestyle, through practice, through relationship, like you are constantly interacting and conversing through energy.
Yeah. I think it's that whole Dhirav as well. Like in that, it's like, it doesn't require force to do that either, but it's like just awareness. And I think that's the same with the energetic bandhas. I know in my experience, it's more not cultivating that force, like I said, that pulling in at the belly, but it's having awareness of what that actually feels like. And I think that's the same for life. It's like being aware of like where my energy should go, when I need to pull it back and contain it for myself. And that way it doesn't have to feel so like Like, I feel like setting boundaries can be scary, and so it feels like it needs to be forced and like this whole massive thing. But if you just have the awareness of where your energy should go so that it can serve you and serve others, it becomes almost like effortless to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And it's that awareness of energy that Bandha gives us.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't have that awareness of your energy and how interactions are affecting you energetically,
so
then
true.
it's not possible to set boundaries because you don't have the awareness for that.
And that's why, you know, in all our classes, we stay in Tadasana after every pose for a while, because it's like, okay, feel the effect. Feel the energetic effect.
Yeah. Absolute vibes. I love it. I love Bandha. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
Give it a go.
Give it a go. And if you really want to learn about this stuff, this is exactly what we cover on all of our courses.
Yeah.
It's the core of Hatha Yoga tradition, you know. Bandha is mudra. Mudra is one of the pillars of the practice.
Yeah. But I think that's why it's so scary as well. Because it, like, even in the textual reference, it was like, it's a secret, you know, and it feels like so much pressure around this one thing, and like you really have to get it right.
Yeah.
But that's that whole thing of letting go of the force. And like, when you actually have the proper education and you just have an open mind and the awareness, that it should be almost a natural thing. Like, it doesn't have to be so strenuous. And it'll come in time. Like, I think it's taken me a long time, to be honest.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, as we start to wrap up this episode, I want to just offer you a little reflection. And that is just to consider what changes when you allow strength to organize itself and contain itself from within. Next time you show up to your yoga mat, see if you can use this idea of Bandha, the co-activation of the muscles around the joints, to find some more stability as you practice, right? At the very minimum, try and find that stability. And then just start to become aware of your energy and notice what it feels like to contain yourself energetically, even just within your practice. What does it feel like to stop letting your eyes dart around the room and just keep your eyes on your mat? Keep your focus and your attention on what you're doing on your mat, even if you're in a class full of 100 other people. Yeah. Try and contain yourself in that way, and let us know in the comments how it goes for you. All right, Milli.
Yeah.
We're going to Sri Lanka.
Woo!
It's happening so soon. Milli and I, we're running the 200 hour this year. It's happening in Sri Lanka in July. So if you're looking for a 200 hour program this year, 2026, this is the year for you. We're going to be running training at the beautiful Lanka Yoga.
Stunning.
After that training, Lena and I are going to be running a retreat. And by the time this episode comes out, I almost guarantee that my 300 hour program for 2026 is live. So if you're looking for a 300 hour training this year, this is for you. It's happening online. Then we go to India in March.
Don't look at me.
I reckon we're going to India in March. So check it out in the show notes. You'll see a link to our trainings. Check them out, and we'll see you there. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
See you next week.